One of the biggest headlines out of Nigeria's financial sector is two-year-old Titan Trust Bank set to acquire a majority stake in 104-year-old Union Bank, Nigeria's second oldest bank. Now, Union Bank's majority shareholders, Union Global Partners Limited, Atlas Mara, and others are to divest their holdings to the tune of 89.3% to Titan Trust Bank, with the transaction subject to regulatory approval. Joining us to discuss further is Arise business analyst Chika Mbonu. Chika, good morning to you. Welcome, sir.
Morning, compliments.
Compliments of the season to you. So, Chika, as you usually do, what do you make of this? How did we get here?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that towards the end of the year, the happenings.
I should tell everybody, when I was on air, you sent the story to me, the letter, the shareholder.
The happenings are taking place in the Nigerian oldest bank.
Yeah.
Remember those who came through the First Bank stories.
Indeed.
And now we are in Union Bank. Union Bank stories has the trajectory for Nigerian story. It came into Nigeria in 1917. Maybe you didn't know that the original name was Colonial Bank.
I did not.
Colonial Bank. And then subsequently transformed. Colonial Bank was acquired by Barclays Bank. And subsequently, we don't have much time, so I just pushed through.
Yeah.
It became Barclays Bank of Nigeria. In 1971, the shares were listed in Nigerian Stock Exchange. You can imagine how old the shares were.
Wow.
About 8.3% of the shares were listed in Nigerian Stock Exchange then. And government acquired in 1972 about 51% of the shares and left with Barclays Bank 40% of the remaining shares.
Okay.
Again, in 1979, that remaining 40% was sold to Nigerians, divesting Barclays Bank totally of the Nigerian banking, out the Nigerian banking sector. But a critical date that's important for the analysis we're doing today was 1993, when the federal government of Nigeria completely divested its shareholding in Union Bank. And that was when the name also was, 1979, the name was changed to Union Bank of Nigeria to reflect that issue that it was a Nigerian bank now. But with government still having some holding. But 1993, totally, government divested. And that date is very important for the analysis we're doing today. So the banks, trudged on like most banks in Nigeria. And they went through all the crisis. But the major crisis was the 2009-2010 financial crisis. Triggered off by the fact that the oil crisis in Nigeria, in the world. Remember what I say here? That when oil sneezes, Nigeria catches cold. Oil price came from March that year, July that year, 2018, at $147 per barrel. Imagine that to March 2009, $41 per barrel. You can imagine the before. Drop. And the major portfolio of the banks were in oil and gas and the value chains of oil and gas, and that affected the whole banking industry. And so it weakened the liquidity and solvency of the banking industry. And as a crisis resolution mechanism, AMCON was set up. Union Bank happened to be one of the banks that was affected by that crisis. So AMCON was set up to buy off the bad bank loans from the other banks. Remember, this bank now is 100% owned by Nigerians, fully quoted in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Now, the resolution mechanism chosen by the government, that is Central Bank then, was to ensure that the depositors didn't lose their funds. Because those banks would have led to die. So that's why AMCON came in, injected funds into these banks. And so the banks were substantially owned now by Central Bank of Nigeria. Remember, initially owned by Nigerians, because the share capital now is almost negative. So what happened then was that the bank was being run by that. Remember the SLS, the almighty SLS, when he came with his all this earthquake in the banking industry. Union Bank was one of the banks affected. So AMCON came in, took over the bank, injected funds into the bank. But subsequently, what they did was advertised through retained Deutsche Bank and Chapel Hill as consultants, advertised for those who are willing to invest in banks, bring equity into the banks, to recapitalize the banks. Remember, Union Bank now was polycapitalized then now. And what happened was, after the bid, this group called Union Global, I'm getting hope now.
Closer now.
Union Global, an amalgamation of about 8 maybe private equity or investment companies actually won the bid and brought in some capital into the bank of course, took over the bank then from, I think they bought about 6% or thereabouts, 5% of the bank. And then AMCON, remember, retained, because remember there have been people funding the bank, 20% of the shareholding.
Okay.
So he had Union Global, a partnership of about almost 8 institutions, PE companies mostly, 65%, AMCON 20%, and then Nigerians remaining with the rest.
Yeah.
And then what happened then was that AMCON didn't keep that. AMCON subsequently sold down to a Singaporean investment company that then sold to Atlas Mara. Hitherto, Atlas Mara was part of the initial, those Union Global group, but they bought more.
Okay.
And then also bought more in the market, to make up their shareholding. Okay. So what has happened now is between Union Global and Atlas Mara, private investors, that are the people now who are the core investors of Union Bank, they owned Union Bank.
Right.
The federal government has no shares
in the bank.
In the bank.
Okay. Fully private.
Fully private.
Yeah.
So this is a situation now where you have perhaps private investors who, for their own investment reasons, have found out that that it's not been achieved. Yeah. So let's sell off. And that's how they'll be looking for a suitor. Yeah. And it happened that Titan Bank was the suitor that they identified with. There are a lot of people who have knocked on the door, but I think they ended up with the Titan Bank. So the issue, therefore, is, I want to clear, is federal government Nigeria didn't have any shares in this bank. Okay. This Titan Bank was just like any investor like Union Global and Atlas Mara that took over the bank. And so the issue for us now is there's Titan Bank, a smaller bank, as you mentioned, taking over in this big bank. Yes. For me, it's good for the economy. Yes. Now look at one of the reasons. For Central Bank, for example, if a GT or Zenith or Access are taking over this thing, remember, this bank has about 200 branches. So, for Central Bank, for example, if a Zenith or GT has acquired this bank, the first thing that will happen is that they don't need all the branches because they're location ready. So things are going to happen immediately to the staff and so on and so forth. So Titan needs this network. So it's good for Central Bank of Nigeria. It provides economic stability. Okay. But one major issue I want to raise here is the investor group and the critical success factor to make sure that this works. The post-merger integration. I've asked the question, how did they fund this acquisition? Remember, they sold the investment in Chi Limited, those who make Chivita, and to Coca-Cola, and they made a lot of money. So it's interesting, it must be, for CBN to approve this, it must make sure that it's equity-based. And so that the bank the Titan doesn't have a lot of luggage of debt that will hurt the acquisition. All right, business analyst Chika Mbon. Chika, thank you for coming and taking us through this acquisition. It is the Global Business Report that's going to do it.